I never thought I'd be the kind of person to throw a party that people would whisper about for years. But when my coworkers stabbed me in the back, I did something so bold, so unexpected. It's still the talk of the town. If you've ever been betrayed at work, please like this video or leave a comment so I know I'm not alone. Let me take you back to where it all began. I was 29, working as a project coordinator at Brightwave, a mid-sized marketing firm in Chicago. The office was on the 12th floor of a glass building downtown, with views of Lake Michigan that made even the worst days feel a little brighter. It wasn't a dream job, but I loved it. The open-plan office buzzed with energy people tossing ideas around, the coffee machine humming, and the occasional Friday happy hour where we'd laugh over bad client pitches at a bar down the street. I'd been there 3 years, pouring my heart into every campaign, staying late to tweak presentations, even covering for colleagues when they were swamped. My boss, Karen, a sharply dressed woman in her 40s, always called me the glue of the team. I believed her. I thought it meant something. Looking back, I wonder if I was just naive. Brightwave wasn't perfect. The pay was decent, but not life-changing, and the workload could be brutal. But I thrived on the chaos. I loved turning a client's vague idea into a campaign that made them light up. My desk was a mess of post-it notes, coffee cups, and dog-eared notebooks filled with ideas. I'd sketch taglines during lunch breaks, brainstorm with the team, and double-check every detail to make sure we nailed it. My colleagues, Mia, Ethan, and a handful of others felt like a second family. Or so I thought. Mia was my work bestie. She was 27 with a quick laugh and a knack for charming clients. We'd bonded over late-night pizza runs during crunch times, venting about Karen's impossible deadlines or giggling over office gossip. Ethan, our data analyst, was quieter, a lanky guy with glasses who could make spreadsheets sing. He was shy but brilliant, and I'd spent hours helping him refine his models, explaining my campaign ideas so he could back them up with numbers. We were a trio, or so I believed, always high-fiving after a win. I trusted them. That trust was my first mistake. The trouble started in the fall of 2023 when a senior coordinator position opened up. It was a big deal, a corner office, a 20% raise, and a chance to lead bigger projects. I'd been eyeing it for months. Karen had dropped hints during our one-on-ones, saying things like, "Keep this up, and you're next in line." I took it seriously. I started putting in extra hours, volunteering for tough clients, and mentoring newer team members to show I could handle leadership. I wasn't perfect, but I was damn good at my job, and I knew it. The big opportunity came with a new client, a trendy startup called Zest. They made eco-friendly fitness gear, and they wanted a full-scale campaign ads, social media, the works. It was high stakes. A 6-figure contract was on the line. Karen put me in charge, and I was thrilled. This was my shot to prove I deserved that promotion. I threw myself into it, spending weeks on storyboards, crafting taglines like "Move Green," "Live Bold," and planning Instagram reels that would go viral. Mia was my right hand, brainstorming slogans and pitching influencers. Ethan crunched the data, building models to predict which platforms would get the most traction. We were a machine, working late, ordering takeout, and laughing through the stress. When Zest signed the contract, we celebrated with cheap wine in the break room. Karen called it a game changer. I went home that night feeling like I was on top of the world. But then, things started to shift. It was subtle at first, like a crack you don't notice until it's a chasm. Mia stopped joining me for lunch, saying she was swamped. I'd see her in the break room, though, laughing with Ethan over something on her phone. Ethan, who usually blushed when I asked him about his weekend, started avoiding me altogether. Once, I caught him glancing at me in a meeting, then looking away like he'd been caught stealing. I told myself I was overthinking it. Work was busy, people get distant. But at night, lying in my tiny apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I'd replay their looks, their half-answers, wondering if I'd done something to upset them. My stomach would knot up, and I'd stare at the ceiling, trying to convince myself it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. About a month after the Zest deal, Karen called a team meeting. It was a Monday morning, the office smelling like fresh coffee and printer ink. I walked in, expecting to hear about the promotion. I'd even worn my best blazer, a navy one I'd splurged on for big days. Karen stood at the front, her usual polished self, and announced that Mia was the new senior coordinator. The words hit me like a punch. Mia. She'd been at Brightwave half as long as me. Barely 2 years. I clapped along with everyone else, my hands trembling. But inside, I was unraveling. Mia caught my eye and gave a small, awkward smile, like she knew she'd taken something that wasn't hers. I forced a grin back, but my face felt like it might crack. After the meeting, I pulled Karen aside in her office. The view of the lake glittered behind her, mocking my mood. "What happened?" I asked, my voice shaking despite my best efforts. I thought I was in the running. Karen shifted in her chair, avoiding my eyes. "It was a tough call," she said. Mia brought a fresh perspective, and the team felt she was the best fit. The words were vague, corporate nonsense. I pressed her, asking what I'd done wrong, but she just repeated, "It's about fit." I left her office feeling like I'd been slapped. 3 years of late nights, of going above and beyond, and this was what I got. I looked across the office at Mia, laughing with a colleague, her new title practically glowing around her. That's when I knew she'd played me. The next week was torture. I went through the motions meetings, emails, campaign tweaks, but every smile felt fake. I started hearing whispers. A coworker, Jen, let slip that Mia and Ethan had been meeting with Karen after hours, pitching new ideas for Zest. I dug deeper, checking old project files on the shared drive. That's when I found a presentation with Mia's name on it, dated a week before her promotion. It was my work, my storyboards, my taglines. Even my color palette tweaked just enough to pass as hers. Ethan's data models, the ones I'd helped him fix, were labeled as his breakthrough. They'd taken my campaign, repackaged it, and sold it to Karen as their own. I sat at my desk, staring at the screen, my heart pounding. Every late night I'd covered for them. Every time I'd shared my ideas, it was like I'd handed them the knife to stab me with. I felt like such a fool. I'd trusted Mia, thought she was my friend. We'd swapped stories about bad dates, planned team outings, even talked about our dreams. Mia wanted to start her own agency someday, and I'd cheered her on. Ethan. Too, I'd spent hours explaining campaign metrics to him, thinking I was helping a teammate grow. Now, it was clear they'd used me to climb the ladder. The betrayal cut deeper than the lost promotion. It wasn't just about the job. It was about the trust I'd given them, the pieces of myself I'd shared, only to have them turn it against me. I could have confronted them. I imagined storming into Mia's cubicle, demanding answers, or calling Ethan out in front of the team. But what would that get me? They'd deny it, and I'd look like the bitter one. I could have quit. 2. I wrote a resignation letter one night, my laptop glowing in the dark as I typed out every grievance. But deleting it felt better than sending it. Quitting meant letting them win, letting them erase me from Brightwave like I'd never mattered. I'd given this company my all, and I wasn't about to walk away empty-handed. I needed to do something that would hit them where it hurt, without making me the villain. That's when I got the idea for the party. Brightwave's annual client gala was a big deal, a night to impress our top accounts with champagne, live music, and a swanky venue. This year, it was at the Grandview Hotel, a glittering downtown spot with chandeliers and a rooftop terrace. Zest was the star client, and as part of the planning committee, I had access to every detail: catering, guest lists, even the AV setup. Mia, now the golden child, was too busy strategizing to help, and Ethan was buried in his new projects. That left me with free rein. I decided to make this gala unforgettable, not for the clients, but for Mia and Ethan. I started small, laying the groundwork. I accidentally left Mia's name off the VIP guest list, knowing she'd have to scramble to get into the exclusive section where Karen and the clients would be. I tweaked the seating chart so Ethan was stuck next to Mr. Caldwell, a client who'd ramble about cryptocurrency until your ears bled. Those were just appetizers. Though, I wanted them to feel what I felt: humiliated, exposed. But in a way, no one could pin on me. I wasn't going to yell or throw punches. I was going to let the truth do the work. The real plan came together when I was tasked with the gala's highlight reel, a video showcasing our best campaigns. Everyone expected a standard slideshow: clips of ads, smiling clients, upbeat music. But I had other ideas. I spent nights digging through old project files, pulling up early drafts of the Zest campaign. There they were, my storyboards, my notes, my name on every slide. Time-stamped weeks before Mia and Ethan's big pitch. I found Ethan's original data model, the one that crashed during testing until I helped him fix it. I wove these into the reel, subtle but unmistakable. If you paid attention, you'd see who really did the work. For Ethan, I added a short clip of his model failing, with my handwritten notes on the screen. Fix buffer error. Check with me. It was petty. Yes. But it felt like justice. I didn't stop there. I reached out to Zest's CEO, Tom, under the guise of confirming gala details. Months ago, I'd sent him my original pitch deck as a courtesy, back when I thought the project was mine to lead. I casually reminded him of it, saying I hoped he'd enjoyed the foundation I'd laid for the campaign. Tom was a straight shooter. He didn't know about the office drama, but he remembered my work. I suggested he give a toast at the gala to celebrate the team effort. He agreed, and I knew he'd mention me if prompted. It was a gamble, but I was all in. The week before the gala, I was a mess of nerves and excitement. I'd lie awake, imagining Mia's face when the reel played, or Ethan's when he realized he wasn't the genius everyone thought. Part of me felt guilty. Was I going too far? But then I'd remember Mia's smug smile, Ethan's averted eyes, and the guilt would fade. They'd chosen to betray me. I was just choosing to fight back. The night of the gala arrived, and the Grandview Hotel was a vision. Chandeliers sparkled, waiters glided with trays of champagne, and a jazz band played softly on the terrace. I wore a sleek black dress I'd saved up for, my hair pulled back to look professional but sharp. I mingled, smiled, and played the part of the loyal team member. But my heart was racing. The reel was set to play during dinner, and I'd made sure the AV team had my version locked in. No one else had checked it. They trusted me. I almost laughed at the irony. When the lights dimmed and the reel started, I stood at the back, a glass of wine in my hand, watching. The first few clips were standard old campaigns, happy clients. Then came the Zest section. My drafts flashed on the screen, my name clear in the corner. A few colleagues glanced at each other, confused. Mia, sitting near Karen, froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. Ethan's clip came next. The crash. My notes. A soft chuckle from the crowd. He sank lower in his seat, his face red. The clients didn't notice much. They were busy eating and chatting. But the team did. Whispers started. Heads turned. Karen's smile was tight, like she was trying to hold it together with sheer will. Then came the toast. Tom, Zest's CEO, stood up, his voice warm and confident. He thanked Brightwave for the campaign, then paused. "I want to give a special shout-out to the person who laid the foundation for this project," he said, glancing at his notes. "Your project coordinator, for her vision and hard work." He said my name. The room clapped, and I raised my glass, my heart pounding but my face calm. Mia's jaw dropped, just for a second, before she forced a smile. Ethan stared at his plate, his hands in his lap. Karen clapped too, but her eyes were on me, like she was seeing me for the first time. The rest of the night was a blur. Colleagues I barely knew pulled me aside, asking, "Did you really do all that work?" I shrugged, saying, "It was a team effort, but the seed was planted." By the dessert course, the office was buzzing. People were talking, piecing it together. Mia tried to laugh it off, making loud jokes at her table, but her voice was too high, her smile too forced. Ethan barely spoke, stuck in a 3-hour crypto lecture from Mr. Caldwell. I didn't say a word to either of them. I didn't need to. The truth was out, and it was louder than any confrontation. The fallout wasn't immediate, but it was real. Over the next few weeks, the office dynamic shifted. Mia's promotion, once a shiny badge, started to look like a fluke. Colleagues questioned her ideas in meetings, something they hadn't done before. Ethan's genius reputation took a hit. People started double-checking his work. Karen never said anything to me directly, but I caught her watching me in meetings, like she was reassessing. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. I'd made my point. 3 months later, I got a job offer from a rival firm, Kinetic Pulse. It was a step-up, better pay, bigger projects, and a team that valued me from day one. I gave my notice at Brightwave, packed up my desk, and walked out without looking back. Mia's still there. Last I heard, but she's struggling to keep up. Ethan transferred to a branch in Denver, probably hoping for a fresh start. The gala. It's still the talk of the office, not for the glitz or the clients, but for the night 2 backstabbers got outplayed. I don't regret it. Sometimes, revenge isn't about shouting or fighting. It's about letting the truth do the work. Quietly. Perfectly. I think about that night sometimes, when I'm driving home from my new job. The city lights blurring past. I wonder if I could have handled it differently. Talked to Mia, confronted Ethan, trusted Karen to see the truth without my push. But then I remember how it felt to stand in that room, my glass raised, knowing I'd taken back what was mine. It wasn't just about the promotion. It was about my work, my worth, and the pieces of myself I'd given to people who didn't deserve them. I got them back, and that's enough. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Drop a comment below and let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. Maybe you've got a story of your own betrayal, revenge, or just a moment when you stood up for yourself. Share it. I'd love to hear it. Until next time, keep fighting for what's yours.